Hi.
We are the third group and we will have a language and culture debate. I am Kayla Hernandez.
Good morning, I am Rosbelio Osorio.
Hi, I am Maria Jose Ospina.
Hi, I am Miguel Mariño.
Hello everyone, my name is Carlos Javier Sanchez.
Before starting any discussion on the relationship between language and culture, it is necessary to talk about common terms such as language, culture, enculturation, acculturation, culture shock. Understanding these basic terms will make it possible to realize the importance of culture in language learning and teaching.
Okay then, we start. I am going to make the question, and my college they were going to respond it. So let's start. To Kayla, what is language?
What is language? Language has existed since human beings began to communicate with in order to satisfy their daily needs. The term language is so familiar that few people would attempt to define its language definition right from the simplest to the most complex. Patrick King in 1988 defined language simply as that convey meaning. Language is also a system of science that is considered to have a cultural value in itself. Krasham, 1998. In general terms, language can be considered a system of verbal and non-verbal signs to express meanings.
Okay, and what is the culture? Can you tell me something about that?
What is culture? One of the best known definitions of culture is that of Gutierrez in 1957. The culture of a society of everything what has to know or believe in order to function in a way acceptable to its members and to do so in any role that they accept for any of them. That is the ideas, traditions, values, and ways of behaving in a community. Brown in 2007, however, defined culture is a way of life as the context in which people exist, think, feel, and relate to each other as the glue that binds people together. Furthermore, he also suggests that it can be defined as the ideas, customs, skills, art, and tools that characterize a particular group of people a particular period of time. Likewise, Mead in 1961 postulated that culture can be learned, while Fox in 1999 pointed out that culture is relative and changeable in space and time. In fact, Tang in 2006 really observed that despite ongoing efforts in various disciplinary fields to find definition of the term culture, there is currently no single definition that fits all.
Okay, so now another question by somewhere more. Rosbelly. good. Rosbelly, could you tell me something about the culture, concept, characteristics, something important?
They are two terms they made in 1987 as cited into 2011, clearly delineated enculturation and acculturation as follows. Enculturation builds a sense of cultural or social identity, a network of value and belief, pattern way of living, and for the most part ethnocentric or belief in the power and the rightness of native ways. Acculturation, on the other hand, involves the process of putting out the worldview or ethos of the first culture, learning new ways of meeting all problems, and achieving ethnocentric evaluation based 140. In other words, enculturation is the first culture you have contact and you growing up creating meanings about the world, while the second term, acculturation, consists on discovering another culture, a different way of living and thinking. You just integrate your thoughts voluntarily and in progress, because first you digest all this new for you, that's very common for others. That means you learn to select which concept could be changed for you.
I see. Okay. And how is that? Is that assimilation sometimes so slowly? Why?
Because it teaches other aspects you pass while you are discovering this new culture. They are cultural awareness and cross-cultural awareness. For this part, Cortázar and Jean 1999, as cited in 2011, pointing out that cultural awareness means to become aware of members of another cultural group, including their behavior, their expectations, their perspectives, and values. In other words, cultural awareness consists in to have little knowledge about the system of other culture. Is the initial process that helps me to have a better performance and adapt my language to a very different context. Like cultural awareness, cross-cultural awareness, Damon 1987 and cited in 2011, indicated involves discovering and understanding one's own culturally conditioned behavior and thinking, as well as the patterns of others. On the other hand, cross-cultural awareness consists in comprehension and taking in account which aspects from my society and other culture are influencing in my costumes. It's a reciprocal relationship of exchange of cultural manifestation. For example, the time of tea at UK or how many I value punctuality.
Very well. So, Maria, what is the relation between the culture and the language?
The relationship between language and culture, according to Brown 2007, language is a part of a culture and culture is a part of the language. The two are highly connected. When people learn a new language, it also means learning a new culture.
And what is this connection between language and culture? Could you explain me with an example sometime? Right. And how this culture can influence in the people in their culture? So this culture is totally essential, right? All right, Carlos. So there is different point of view about the cultural learning in the education.
Well, about that, each individual may have a different view of culture. Holm in 2003 indicate that the communicative era of language teachers tend to center the culture according to a combination of five views. The first one is the communicative view. Gives the student language that can be put to quick use in a particular context. For example, travels, business, coffees, entertainment, etc. Second one is the classical curriculum view, helps to increase the intellectual value of the language, correct form to write, grammar, speak, etc. Third one is the cultural free language view, could be from a common concern in respect of hidden political and cultural agenda of a language. It's used for specific terminologies in different but specific areas. Fourth, the constructionist view postulates that sometimes it's important that the student know when, why, where, by and for who was wrote the text, otherwise may be manipulated by the cultural construction of a text and the text's implicit message. Finally, the competence view. According to this view, the student has to understand the language culture, no sense of meanings for understand the true meaning of a language. The first three views treat cultural content as marginal or even irrelevant to successful language learning, but the last two views treat language and culture as being learned in dynamic interaction, where you can't fully understand one without understanding the other. In other words, result difficult learn a language without knowing his culture. Learning a language has in fact been considered, as quoting Kwang in 2007, inseparable from learning its culture. Even Roth states that the ultimate aim of foreign language teaching should be understanding both language and culture. And Brown remarked that second language learning in some respects involves acquiring a second identity or a second culture. Some authors say that English language teaching in the present has become increasingly sensitive to the issue of culture and affirm that setting all aspects of teaching and learning are cultural in nature. Evans says that culture is one of the focal concepts in language learning and teaching and they couldn't avoid it, regardless of the fact that whether culture is overtly included in the curriculum or not. Therefore, it may be sufficient to suggest that if second or foreign language teachers are not aware of culture in the language classroom, they may run the risk of being ill prepared to help their learners to learn the use that target language in a culturally appropriate manner. As a result, learners may not be able to know sufficient cultural knowledge of the target language, which may potentially as a result, learners may not be able to know sufficient cultural knowledge of the target language, which may potentially lead them to regrettably experience miscommunication or misunderstanding. Of course, teachers must be aware that cultural learning can tremendously benefit their students in second or foreign language learning and use.
Mm, understand.
Good. To this point, we are aware of the importance of the culture in the teaching of languages. So, what could be to you the most important? I mean, there is a goal or intention with the learning of the culture from another language.
Yes, there is a goal. The language teacher are searching for achieve many goals, and these goals are the most important step to learn and master a language. The cultural essays Barry Tomali in his book Cultural Knowledge, 1995. We are all internationally know. So, and this is important because we must understand that it are more than ever the impact of the foreign languages in our own context. You can live where in USA? Fine. You know English? Perfect. But you know the context, the manners, the culture of that country? Probably no. And this the goal that we as teacher should strive for. We should, or must, more precisely, to have these goals. The goals to fully encourage the students to culturize in the language. Why? Because is without that culture you can understand like the half of the languages. It's since it's a bit exaggerate, but it's not. It's not allowed. You can learn the grammatic, right? You can be excellent in the text, but when do you go to England and you don't know this is ways to adapt the culture, you will suffer and lose too much.
So, it's obligatory to assimilate the culture of another country to learn its language then.
Yes, absolutely. The development of cultural awareness is one of the most important goals according with the previous point, and it stays through the cultural influence of the foreign language. The capacity to understand, or more precisely, awareness, the cultural influence, involves the how, when, and why use the cultural influence when you communicate with people. This called, according to the professor Baristo Melin, the fifth language skill.
So, this is the posture of only one person of there is more people with these thoughts.
Yes, by example, we had Gadsden in 1984. He put four stages to this cultural awareness. There is recognition, acceptance, ethnocentrism, and transcendence. So, by the other hand, we had the ballet in 1986, which maintain two core, but they're more different. They are the parliament, adhering, understanding, and understanding of the values of the target culture. There are more authors with different goals to raise the awareness, but are usually very akin one to another.
So you could say that all authors are more or less in according with the same things. So you can say that are indispensable to English as foreign language, right?
Yes, in the other hand, we are different authors with their own goals of the cultural learning.
Speaking about the culture, will you tell me what is cultural shock and cultural bump?
Mm, the difference between the cultural shock and the cultural bump is the cultural shock is a situation produced by example. I have contact with a new culture that can make a fellow in alta happen in this new culture, right? It's an dynamic process that it actually shock directly to my custom and values. Nevertheless, well, I can understand hardly at the end this new custom to my daily life, right? Which means you can comprehend most easily what it worked for me for this new custom. So, for the other hand, the cultural bomb is the opposite in the sense that you will be in comfortable situation of trying to interact with the people of another culture and you feel totally lost. You can appreciate who you can communicate on a right way and is even worse than cultural shock in that way. For the cultural shock, you will progressively improve, but the cultural bomb is the opposite.
Thank you so much for answering. I think that the time is out. But thank you a lot for participating in this discussion.